Man City versus Liverpool was really interesting tactically. City dominated the game and won 4-1. They were excellent. I want to show you how the game unfolded, what happened tactically, because like I said, it was very interesting. Now, we'll start with how the teams lined up and what they were trying to achieve. City had John Stones in the starting lineup, and naturally people thought it looked like a 4-1-4-1, this sort of normal shape that they'd have. This sort of thing here. You see that shape there? But Stones was actually a central midfielder and was very important in this game and how he worked as part of this double pivot with Rodri. So they had this 3 and a 2, which is very important. Then later on what they had was Alvarez up top because Holland was injured. He would drop into the midfield to help out at times. But the key players really are Jack Grealish on this left side and Mahrez on this right side, because what Pep Guardiola was trying to do in this game was build play on the right-hand side, kind of focus there, play through Liverpool's press, and then try and target Grealish against Alexander-Arnold or Mahrez versus Robertson. So trying to get 1v1 with these fullbacks, and they were always getting it, particularly with Alexander-Arnold. And this is nothing new. Lots of teams target Alexander-Arnold now. He's not a bad player whatsoever, but he's getting really unlucky and doubled up on an awful lot of times. Other key players, obviously Gundogan and De Bruyne, who play as part of this box midfield. Put them like this here. There's a great video we've got on Tifo IRL that John McKenzie did. You should definitely go and watch that if you don't know what a box midfield is. It's very interesting. And subscribe to the channel. Do that. That'd be excellent. Right. That's our box midfield. That's Man City. The key things, you're going to build on this right-hand side from build-up play. They can pass through the press. Then they want to focus on getting Alexander-Arnold versus Grealish. That's the real key thing. Now, Liverpool, nothing too special. They're 4-3-3. That's what they want to do. They want to be compact out of possession. They want to play forward when they can. They want to play through the press when they can, or play over the top of a high line. So we've known for a long time that Liverpool's fullbacks are very important because these wingers are actually inside forwards and they come inside the pitch like this. And they swap around all the time. Gakpo will come to be an extra midfielder in a diamond shape in this midfield here. Jota will come through the centre. Salah like this. Robertson is often like an extra left forward. He likes doing that. He goes in the underlap as well. Really useful player, great player. Was excellent for Scotland midweek against Spain. And you had Alexander-Arnold on this side here, who used to push forward an awful lot but doesn't. And teams do target him in this side, and they get double ups with like 2v1s an awful lot on him. They try and target him in the back post, but they stopped him pushing forward so much and keep him kind of back like this. So Alexander-Arnold has stopped pushing forward as much as he used to. We know he used to get in here so he can send brilliant crosses into the box, things like that. But because teams target him, I think that's one of the reasons why he's staying back an awful lot in part of a back 3. So Robertson might push up like this, and you keep this sort of back 3. But when he does push forward, he only goes forward a little bit. So he might go here, maybe this far forward, using either Fabinho or Henderson as a reference point. That's what he's usually in line with. You'll notice that when he goes forward. Now, you've got Grealish on this side here trying to deal with Alexander-Arnold, maybe stand in this space here, always trying to stretch them. Now, when Alexander-Arnold does push forward, what happens is the back 4 is obviously now a different shape, but they spread out. So Konate will go over to be like this right centre-back, right-back kind of position. Van Dijk will come over like this. Robertson will be like this. And because Man City are keeping Mahrez and Grealish so far wide, you're getting this big split between the players, which you do not want. Sometimes you'll see Liverpool will be like this and they'll have Fabinho trying to help in fill the gaps. But you'll also notice there's usually a gap between Konate and Van Dijk that is bigger than lots of teams do, because Fabinho should drop in here, but often doesn't. He kind of defends the space in front of it rather than being a bit more passive in the back line. So these are all things that are happening in this game. These are all things that Pep Guardiola knows is going to happen. This is how he's trying to outthink what Jurgen Klopp wants to do. Now, out of possession, this is really important as well for Liverpool, is that they will go into a 4-4-2 shape. So what you get is Gakpo, Salah will be maybe the front 2, Elliott goes wide right, Fabinho, Henderson push up, Jota here, Robertson, Van Dijk, Konate and Alexander-Arnold, and they play a high line. Another really important thing to note. So they're going to play a high line, both teams are going to do this. And what Liverpool want to do is play over the top of Man City's high line because they've got a back 3 and they'll push up and leave space in behind. But Man City know that Liverpool will do this, and if they can get them to form that back 3 shape, which is very high and very isolated, there is lots of space to make runs into. Now, the first goal is Liverpool's. It comes against the run of play. And it's relevant to all these principles that both managers have in play. City want to press high, win the ball high up, stop Liverpool from playing out from the back, and Liverpool want to play through the press as well. This is Man City's pressing shape. You've got John Stones is a central midfielder alongside Rodri, but he's essential to the press in this particular tactical setup that Guardiola's used. It's really interesting. So he's there because Robertson might go forward, and so Stones can track that. It also means that Robertson's one of the extra players wide, because this is the shape. Konate goes wide right in the box, Van Dijk's wide left in the box, Robertson's more flat. So it's kind of that these guys are linked, but Alexander-Arnold's not, because he's using Henderson as a reference point. That's where he is. So this is what you get, this is the shape. Stones is here to protect against Robertson, because Mahrez goes inside to make sure you got this. Alvarez then leads the press, curves a run round, this sort of thing here. We see this a lot, this is, people do it to block off a lane. He does that thing there, so Alisson has to go this way. Now, Alisson's very confident on the ball, really composed in these situations, doesn't panic. That's what you want, that's what Liverpool want to do. And he'll play this pass into Fabinho, and when that ball goes in, he manages to get it, to squeeze it past Alvarez just into Fabinho, and that is a really useful thing. If you just miss a player out, that's a player out of the line of the defence. That's what you want. Fabinho then can turn, and he can play the ball into Alexander-Arnold, who is in this position here. De Bruyne can't get tight enough because he's in the middle, he's not going this side, so then that means the ball goes out here. Alexander-Arnold's now in space because of his reference point with Henderson, because of the lines that Man City have. And so suddenly what then happens is Alexander-Arnold has a really big chance to hook a big ball into this area here, because City are pushed right up. But the key here is that when the ball goes from Fabinho to Alexander-Arnold, Ake, who has Salah next to him here, standing in a bit of an offside position, he has a really important decision to make. Does he pounce Alexander-Arnold? Does he hold position? Because he knows that this line here, if the ball goes over the top, he's in trouble. He's not going to get anywhere near it. But he knows that if he does push on him, there's a chance he could block it, he can make a tackle, something like that. He makes that choice, goes for it, doesn't get there in time, ball over the top, and then you've got Jota runs through, you've got Gakpo, Salah, they all run through. And then of course, Jota gets to the very back of the pitch here. I think Akanji catches up with him, keeps him nice and tight, but Jota pushes it back and Salah finishes against the run of play. So it's City's high press. They're doing exactly what they want to do. This is Guardiola's setup, but Liverpool are able to play through it and therefore they score. That's the thing. So like really good decision making for Liverpool, and a slight maybe error in judgment by Ake by going snapping to it. Maybe you could say that Alvarez should have won the ball earlier, or De Bruyne should be slightly further to his left to block the pass to Fabinho. A few different decisions that don't go their way. So City then go on to completely control the game again after that goal. Liverpool gets to run the play, but they've done it very well. What you get here now is Liverpool go in their 4-4-2 compact shape with a high line out of possession. They want to try and stop City playing through them or around them, that's what they want to do. And so they're playing like this. Now, what City will do, Ake has the ball in the situation, and he's just going to pass it to Diaz and back to Ake and then back to Diaz. And the reason they want to do this is to try and prompt Liverpool out of their shape to offer some passing lanes to be able to pass through them. Because when he goes like this to Diaz, they might push forward a little bit, sneak up a bit. He goes back to Ake, they might push forward a little bit, sneak up a little bit. And again, back to Diaz, then Diaz puts it over to Akanji. And when he goes to Akanji, Jota then moves out to try and form this front three pressing shape. So as he goes, it means that these guys then have to pull across. That's how the shape works. But in doing so, it just creates a little bit of gap for De Bruyne to get in. And Akanji, because of his positioning and because of where Jota is, Jota's here, Akanji can just sort of flick it round into De Bruyne, and this is the problem. And you see the build up to this goal. De Bruyne, when he sees Akanji on the ball, is looking at him and pointing behind him because he knows that Mahrez is here, because they've isolated Mahrez and Grealish either side against this back four. So Akanji can get into De Bruyne. De Bruyne wants the pass to go straight to Mahrez. He instantly turns and passes to Mahrez. Now the interesting thing here is that when the ball comes to Akanji, just like Ake in the first goal that City conceded, Robertson has a decision to make. When it's here and De Bruyne is getting the ball, does he stay and watch Mahrez, or does he snap into the tackle to try and get in here to stop it here and then press, as is Liverpool's thing? That's what they do. They press the ball and they go, right? That's what they do. And when they were good, this probably would have worked. He won the ball and go. But instead, he goes to it, doesn't get it in time. De Bruyne sweeps it through to Mahrez, and then they're in trouble. And this is where it starts to fall apart, because you start seeing this back three, which is really heavily split. So Mahrez will carry the ball. Van Dijk will come across. Konate, Alexander-Arnold. Van Dijk does that thing he does now, where he's sort of standing, defending, but not really actually doing anything. Mahrez dribbles at him, and then he just cuts inside as you think he's going to do, like this. Van Dijk just lets him turn. He goes inside. Then you've got the supporting group of Alvarez and Gundogan. They're coming in. And the key player at the back here is Jack Grealish, who is still hugging the touchline. So as Mahrez comes inside, players are obviously running back. Henderson's one of the first to try and react. Van Dijk goes like this and follows Mahrez inside. Henderson tries to take his place here. That's why the shape looks really weird. Robertson starts to come back as well. And then with the defence in a bit of a stramash here, Mahrez then passes into Gundogan, who moves into the space that's created by Alvarez pushing the line backwards. Gundogan just takes one touch, turns and fires it into our pal Grealish, who we know is going to be around here because he's done it the whole game long. And then Liverpool's shape is all over the place, ball goes into Grealish, and Grealish can then just fire a ball across the goal for Alvarez to finish. And so the interesting thing to me about this goal is that all of this is designed by Guardiola. This is all the patient build up at the back to let the press come out from Liverpool to open up a passing lane, the isolated players 1v1 with fullbacks and Mahrez and Grealish, and then just constant movement from Gundogan and De Bruyne. Like they're meant to be in this box midfield, but one of them's ended up as a number 10 position, and one of them's ended up in a deep right back position almost, and that's how they score the equalizer. That's them back in the game, and then things start to turn even more in City's favour. Now the second half, there's something else that Guardiola and his analysts will definitely have spotted about Liverpool before this game, and that is they have basically the same exact kickoff routine every single time at the start of a half, whether the first half or the second half. And they do the same thing in this game. And what they do is one player takes the ball and kicks it back to the right centre-back, who is going to absolutely launch a ball to this part of the pitch. It's quite Sunday League, but it means you get at them. And also when you put all players together, so let's put the defensive team will naturally come over here like this. We'll squash over. You want to have players nice and tight, apart from Grealish, keep him wide. We know what he's wanting to do. Get them all here, and then these players will all push forward into this exact area of the pitch because they know where it's going to go. Everyone gets forwards, including Salah. Ronald goes up as well. So the point being, Liverpool go forward from the very start, trying to take the game to the opponents, attack them, and then the ball goes out, doesn't work for them this time, that's fine, and they get back in their defensive shape. Now for some reason, this is probably by design, Alexander-Arnold is not at right back, which would mean Konate can be like this in a standard back four shape. Instead, he's pushed up to try and put pressure on Man City high up the pitch, which means that Konate has to adjust his position to be this kind of hybrid right back, centre back position, which is Liverpool have been doing all season, and I don't understand why, because it doesn't ever seem to do any favours for them. They get torn apart constantly with this sort of shape here. There's probably a reason to it, I need to look at that. Anyways, Alexander-Arnold's up here. City are obviously going to play from the back. That's what they do. That's their principles. They want to play through Liverpool's press, and they do it kind of easily because Alexander-Arnold's out of position and Konate's out of position. It means that Grealish and Alvarez are kind of in a tiny bit of space that they probably shouldn't have. The ball goes out from Ake into Grealish, and he starts seeing the problems because Konate comes across to try and deal with that, and in doing so he finds Alvarez, who's on the halfway line, and then suddenly you see the problem. You've got Van Dijk, Robertson, and basically I think it's Fabinho. That's all they've got left here, and you've suddenly got De Bruyne going through the middle, you've got Mahrez over here, and because you've kept Mahrez wide to make this big spread out defensive shape, Alvarez can hook this brilliant pass over here. De Bruyne is offside at the time. The ball's hooked over, Mahrez can go in, and because of this defensive shape that they've got, this is how Man City are able to do it. And Mahrez can get in, and of course, because De Bruyne's running in, easy ball across the goal for a goal for De Bruyne. That's what happens. So it's from Liverpool's kickoff. They don't have the right defensive shape. They're too easy to play through. The pressing is bad. It's just not as good as it used to be. We've got a video on that as well on our channel if you want to see that. And then they're able to exploit the same things that they're doing, these things that Pep Guardiola has, the wide wingers against the isolated fullbacks. Liverpool's defensive shape torn apart, and it's too easy to play through. So start the second half, disaster for Liverpool because they're now 2-1 down. That's obviously a bad thing. But they're not great. Their press isn't quite working the way they want it to. They're not able to keep the ball. City dominating possession. And there's a goal which is all City build up on the right hand side, all this City right hand side. Lots of nice interchanges, lots of positional rotations, and then just terrible Liverpool defending that I can't really explain on the board because it's just people standing still and not reacting. It's something they've had a problem with this season as well. But then the fourth goal is obviously the heads are down, nothing's really functioning the way they want it to, but all the things that Guardiola has told his team to do, they just work perfectly once more, and it's something that Liverpool haven't reacted to throughout the entire game. So what you get is this back three, and the Liverpool shapes the 4-4-2, very compact out of possession, and it'll change. So when the ball goes over this side, Salah will go over, Gakpo will come over, Jota will go like this. That's what happens. Then maybe turn it into more of this shape. So you've got this kind of surrounding shape, which should leave City with two players in the middle, but it should be very hard to get the ball through because every passing lane should be blocked into these guys. That's the kind of idea, which should then show the ball wide. If the ball goes wide, it's a longer pass, which should mean you can then step out and try and win it there if you can. That's kind of the idea, I think, in principle, behind what Klopp's doing with this pressing shape. But it's easy to beat. And so when they build up for this fourth goal, considering all these things, what you get is, I think it's Rodri's in the middle, and they're just very patient, and they're just passing it around. But they move the ball out to this right-hand side. Now this is key, they're doing this all through the game. Akanji on this right-hand side, let's pull them over here. When the ball's over right, then Liverpool will orientate their team towards this side of the pitch. So they will then come over to be in this more of this shape and shift over. Because City are doing this on purpose. They're trying to tip them over to this side of the pitch. We'll pull them all over here. Now we know that Grealish is going to be over here on this side, which makes Alexander-Arnold's positioning really complicated because they want to keep a tight four, but he can't go too close to Konate because he's going to leave this space here for Grealish. Another thing is he doesn't even need to stay tight to Gundogan at all because Gundogan's left this position where he's been all game long to turn up over here. So City are doing this thing where they're trying to stretch the back lines. They've got big passing options, move it down the right, so they can pull Liverpool over to this side. They know this guy is isolated against Alexander-Arnold, and Akanji is able to find Gundogan in the space because they've managed to break the press, even though it's the way Liverpool want to do it. Gundogan then has time to turn, looks up, and then, as always, he's got this big hook pass over towards Grealish. Then Grealish has got there, and you've got De Bruyne has turned over to swap with Gundogan, and he then helps out. Alexander-Arnold, really, really in trouble here. He's basically got 2v1, something they've done this on purpose, De Bruyne and Grealish. The ball goes into Grealish, as Grealish takes the ball down, beautiful first time touch. Alexander-Arnold's 2v1, he knows De Bruyne is going behind him. I'll get rid of that line so we know it's gone there. De Bruyne is trying to get behind him, so he tries to stop and maybe play offside or something. It's a bad choice from him, I think, again. De Bruyne gets in behind, the ball sneaks in here, and then Alexander-Arnold tries to make a tackle, misses it, and then is too slow to accelerate and get back to follow Grealish, who we know, as soon as he plays this ball, is obviously going to go here to follow it up. And he does. De Bruyne is here, he just clips it back. Grealish gets in behind Alexander-Arnold, who doesn't follow it, and then Grealish finishes to make it 4-1. Everything Guardiola set his team up to do here worked, apart from the goal that Liverpool scored. So even when you get it perfect, you can still concede. But it's one of the best performances we've seen from Man City this season. A lot of it's to do with Liverpool being passive, making bad decisions. Klopp talked about it in his post-match press conference and how they were doing things they just shouldn't be doing, and they've been doing them all season long. There's real structural issues in the defence. Teams are targeting Alexander-Arnold. They can't adjust for it. There's problems in the midfield. There's no pressure being put on teams where they need them to be put on. And Man City were just excellent, especially Grealish, who was given loads of space and time on his wide side. Same as Mahrez. In fact, all the players are brilliant. It was a fantastic performance from Man City, who are still in that title race. And that is our breakdown of this game. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, do please subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. The Athletic is home to some of the world's best sports journalists, including journalists dedicated to each Premier League team, so every fan gets the coverage they deserve, not just the big clubs. And you can try it for free now for 30 days. See the link in the description.